Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to host Gil Eshel in our webinar series. Gil is a scientist with the Soil Erosion Research Station in the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in Israel. And he will talk about an innovated soil health index for Mediterranean soils. Go ahead, Gil. If you are not muted, please mute yourself and unmute to ask questions. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to have the opportunity to present to you this mega project that we are running for the last, I think, 4 years. Basically, we're trying to develop a soil health index for Mediterranean soils. This is mega project supported by the chief scientist of Ministry of Agriculture. For this project, there are many partners. Guy Levy from your department, Oshri Rinot was a postdoc on this project. Michael Boresever, the same department, Ori Irmiyav and Leah Tzor from Gilat. Hanan Eisenberg from Neve Yaar, Tal Svorai from Ben Gurion University, Yael Michel from the Hebrew University, Alex Foreman from the Technion, and Yosef Sternberger from Bar Ilan University. There are many technicians and students that work during this project, and the list is big, so, but I'm thankful for all of them for contributing to this project. So, what is a soil health in general? Soil health is an holistic approach that considers soils as a living and dynamic ecosystem, differently where the common way that we use to look on soil as just as a growing medium. This approach been developed from the understanding that soil is an active ecosystem, and the soil food web, basically the biological activity at different trophical level, has an essential role on the functioning of the agro ecosystem. Soil health characterizes the ability of and the resilience of soil to provide ecosystem services. The ecosystem services can be supporting services, for example, supporting habitat for plants or housing or infrastructure, regulating services for regulating major element cycle or regulating hydrological cycle, regulating temperature or nutrients. Provision service can be provision of agricultural production or goods, building material, nutrients, and so on, and cultural services. And we know that there are increasing evidence that suggests a direct link between the health of soil and the agricultural ecosystem stability and the nearby ecosystem as well. Hence, the soil health is affected by a wide range of soil properties, biotic and unbiotic, that maintain a complex interaction. And indeed, soil health, it's an increase, there is an increase interest on soil health. And recently, there is another mega project that just published looking for a database for global soil health assessment. So we are in good company and environment. While we look on soil health, what is a healthy soil and how there are two main streams that soil health been treated. Basically, the one it's by the soil health management, the agriculture department of the US leading for the last, I think, 4 or 5 years, big campaign of managing the health of soil. Basically, it's have 4 principles that are linked to the soil or conservation and agricultural practices, maybe even taken a little wider point of view. And they're talking about minimize soil disturbance, maximize the soil cover, plant soil cover, maximize the biodiversity, and maximize the presence of living roots. On the other hand, there is another big branch of soil health indexes. There are many indexes that suggested. Basically, most indexes are looking on soil parameters, biological, physical, and chemical parameters, and measure them. Some statistical analysis, and after that, minimize the data set and provide some assessment of soil health. So again, it's raised the question why it's important to determine the health status of soil, and why we need an additional index for Mediterranean. So soil is not exclusively affected by the inherent soil properties such as soil texture, or mineralogical composition, component content, etc. But it's much affected by land use and agricultural activity. It is necessary to have an holistic and quantitative tool to assess the changes in soil health following the agricultural activity, to ensure fertile soil ability to provide a wide range of ecosystem services for us and for the next generation. And the typical soil health indexes developed for soil in humid and semi-humid areas that are also affected by summer showers. And we know that we are living in different environment, and that was the thought that we need index that determine the health status of Mediterranean soils area, like here in Israel. So what is an healthy soil? So if you look on the biological properties of the soil, we targeting to have a soil with rich biodiversity, because better biodiversity at different trophical level indicates a suitable soil system for broader range of productivity, including wide range of agricultural productivity. On the physical properties, we target to have a soil with stable structure, with linked and heterogeneous porous system, with high water holding capacity. Such a soil will less sensitive to soil erosion and runoff generation, will provide optimal habitat and more water for transpiration, for what commonly called green water, and support higher productivity. On the chemical aspect, we target for a soil with to reach an optimal level of nutrients and organic matter, Such soil will allow to support a wider variety of crops and minimize the environmental pollution. So after all this, the objective of this project, the general objective is to develop and consolidate a multi-parameter soil health index in order to better characterize the health of agricultural land in the Mediterranean climate regions. And the specific objectives are to identify and to characterize the physical and the chemical, biological, and the environmental indicators. Part of them will be quantitative and part of them will be semi-quantitative, which best express the soil functionality. To develop a multi-parameter index representing soil health based on indicators that examine in the first section, to validate the efficiency of the developed soil health index as a tool for evaluating the effectiveness of soil conservation and reclamation means. And sure, to outreach the developed knowledge from this project to policymakers, extensioners, farmers, and others. So the first step of this project was to answer the first and the second objectives. And we aim to build a big database of wide range of soil properties that obtain directly from the field or measured at the field and in the laboratory. The database will serve as a pillar for the development of the multi-parameter index. And in order to identify the variables that are more sensitive to changes in land use, we aim to sample a wide range of variance in the soil properties. So in order that we sample 3 main land use, annual crops or field crops, perennial crops, the common one is orchards, and uncultivated area as a kind of a reference. So originally we planned to do this project in 4 regions of agriculture in Israel by limiting the support, the funding. We focus on 2 areas. One in the north is in the valleys, and the second one in the northern part of the Negev. In total, we excavated about 1.8 soil pits. 2 important agricultural reasons, as I mentioned, at 3 locations, each region, at 3 nearby land use that we choose. And each land use, we look for places that are in kind of equilibrium in the last land use. So we want the area that at least for the last 15 years, it's under the current land use which we tested. So in the north, in the south, we sample along soil texture gradient from Shikmin farm that it's a kind of a brown, dark soil, loamy clay soils. The Magen area, it's more loamy sandy soils, and in the southern part, it's very sandy soil in Talmei Yosef. In each place, we have the three land uses. And the valleys we samples at En Harod. En Harod, basically it's under, we sample under organic management. At Geva, it's nearby by conventional managements. And near Yaffe, again, it's same, it's heavy soils, but while those two form on volcanic materials, the near Yaffe soils form from alluvial limestone materials. So the soil sampling strategic was, as I told you earlier, we dug a dig with a backhoe. We marked 4 layers in the pits that we named them with the letters A, B, C, and D. The first layer, it's 0 to 10 centimeter. The second one is 10 to 30 centimeter. The third one is 30 to 60 centimeter, and the last one is 60 to 1 meter. We sample along the pit, the layer. At each depth, it includes a disturbed soil sample, about 8 kilo, while directly in the field, we receive 1 kilo of it, and we keep it refrigerated for biotic analysis. In addition, we sample 3 undisturbed soils cores for bulk density analysis. While we sample in field crops or uncultivated area, it's relatively simple. But while we enter to orchard and orchards that irrigated with drip irrigation, we approach it by excavate the pits from the trunk to the middle area between the 2 rows, that we represent the entire space from the tree trunk or the rooting system and from the irrigation, dripping irrigation, that we represent the area, the field, and not a specific place that's affected by the distance from the drip irrigation or the, or the tree roots. So as for this first sampling campaign, which is occur at 2 sampling season, we collected 432 soil samples from, as I said, 2 sampling seasons, 2 regions, 3 sites at each region, 3 land use at each site, 3 replicate at each land use and for depth. The disturbed soil samples were air dried, grained and sieved to 4 millimeters. Each sample was split into 5 sub-samples that distributed to all study groups, that all of us work on the same samples. This was important, that we sample and all of us work on the same sample. And in addition, we did some field assessment during the sampling and along the year. Part of it, we used the visual soil assessment, VSA, that developed by FAO. And basically it's collecting 10 parameters, assessment parameter in the field, starting from texture, structure, porosity, color, matters, earthworm numbers, potential root depth, any evidence of standing water or flooding, plant cover, and any erosion marks in the field. So it was important to us to not to be, usually we sample the soil, we disconnected from the condition in the field, and we want to add those conditions in the field to this index. And in addition, we survey the weeds, the number of species of weeds in each land use, and the plant and the cover of it on the field. So one slide is missing, sorry. What happened? It's I hide it for just a second, sorry. No, I deleted it by mistakenly. Okay, so we selected 37 chemical parameters, biological parameters, 31 chemical parameters, 9 physical parameters, and 10 surface parameters. I'm sorry that the biological parameters somehow mistakenly disappear from this presentation. So it's longer list of parameters. The biological parameter includes pathogens, soil pathogens, parameters of organic matter and dissolved organic matter characteristics. It includes biological parameters, respiration, and functional groups, utilities, and fungi and bacteria, and etc. and etc. The next stage was it was to do a statistical analysis for all this database that collected in the first steps, and the analysis have 6 steps. The first one to examine which is the best sampling season for biological variables. We know that since the precipitation, we have a winter, wet winter and dry summer, sorry, in our region. So one of the biggest, or the first question that we ask, when it's the best to sample? Because, it's an issue. Definitely it's an issue related to biological parameter. Examining which parameters are sensitive to land use in the selected sampling seasons that we test in the first question. After that, we want to minimize the variables. So we look on intercorrelation or using dendrogram correlation to look on variables that are autocorrelate, to choose one of them and or the ones that easy to achieve. Maximizing the effect of, examining the effect of sampling depth, because it wasn't clear for us as well, and how the climatic zone affect the variables selected in this previous step. And after that, we convert the measure value into a numerical scale to have a score. And after that, this is new relatively to the entire indexes that right now exist. We are convinced that we need to make a weighting system to the relative contribution of each variable in the index. Because right now the entire index gives the same weight for each parameter. And the question if does they need to get the same weight. So here is the first ANOVA test that we made. Look which of the biological parameter are, or which season the biological parameter, we have more biological parameters that are sensitive to land use, and we found a quite big chunk of parameters from soil pathogen to microbial population, biomass activities parameters, microbial utilization functional groups, and nematode tropical levels, or the nematode, free nematode trophical levels in the end indexes. And in addition, we test the chemical and the physical parameters. We found that the nutrient, the mineral N, it's important, the phosphorus, SAR, EC, pH as expected in our region, microelements, of course, the soil organic matter, and its dissolved organic carbon characteristic, or the fluorescence of the component. I think Oshri is going to give a specific seminar talk about this of this index, which found very, very powerful. And again, the soil texture expected to be significantly affected, and the visual soil assessment as well, and the weeds found to be also affected by by land use. So we applied those dendrogram and look. So first we choose the ones that have no autocorrelation, and after that, from the ones that have autocorrelation, we choose one that we think it's the best represent this group. And we ended up at the end with a list of 22 variables that enter to the index. So here is the list. You can see here the average values related to the climatic region. North it's Mediterranean, the south is semi-arid. Land use, if it's field crop, orchard, or non-cultivated, and how the depth affect those parameters. The next step was to convert those indicators or those measurements to scoring, numerical scoring functions. We used the common function to convert it to a scoring. The overall shape of the function is a function of, or we have an optimal values, or more the better, or less the better, depends on the parameters. The parameter was normalized to values between 0 to 100. And we aim to uniform distribution that the score close to 100 considers as a healthy soil. So just to look how those functions look like. So here it's our data plot in those functions. So we can look over here in amino groups. We thought that it's more is the better. Bulk density, less is the better, and I will talk about it. And here it's already a convert based on soil structure. So each have this function. We can argue, and we can probably going to improve the distribution or the shape of or the angle of the changes, and probably we do it in the last year of this project. But this is kind of our data, how it's spreading those equation, and those are the values that build these equations. And as you can see, for example, bulk density, we have different values for sandy soil or clay soil, loamy soils. The same for mineral N because it's surface related. So we try to do based on this knowledge. As I said, part of it is from the literature, and the new parameters that we didn't find in the literature, it was related of our expert opinion of the function look like. And the next, and the innovated or the added very new in this index was the assessment, the weight of each variables in the index. So basically we plot a couple matrix of those 22 indicators that we decided, and an expert been asked to fill this matrix to score it. Here is a simple example. So if the expert thinks that EC is more important than pH, so he decided he need to give a score between 1 to 4, and he decided in this example it's moderate, more important. So he gave score 3. And if you think that the total number of free nematode is more important than electrical conductivity, so he marked it as 6. So it's strongly very important relatively to pH. Okay, and after that we convert it to partial grade, and we do the average score related to the other parameter, and we get the relatively importance of each parameter, that the total is 1, and this is a portion. So in this case, pH got 64% importance or weight in the index. pH got about 27%, and the total number of nematode just 9%. And after that, we do a test of the consistency of the experts to be sure that they are consistent with their estimation. And this is a method that Talsbury ran in his lab. So at the end, we came with this last column of the table with the relative weight of each parameter. So as you can see, soil organic carbon got from our experts, about 10% of the index. pH got about 7% of the index, and all those parameters sum to a 1. So the last stage that we are currently now in this project, in order to answer the third objective, is to validate this index. So this is an example how we calculate the score, or the score multiplied by the importance. So if it was 1.0% of organic carbon, soil organic carbon, it got a grade of 0.04. And the total for this score for this soil, it was 0.9. And we can probably next year, we will try to improve the grading, and we're going to discuss it a lot, how we do it. So, and since we are not finished yet with the analysis of the validation sampling. Sorry, the word is missing for me. So we test it in this index. As I try just to remind you that we develop it on land use, and we test it how it's affected by land management. So we first test the lower case represent significant effect between the management in this case. So as I remind you, Ein Harod was on organic management, and Geva was conventional, the same soil, the same area. So we found a significant effect in the orchards in all depth. In the non-cultivated area, we didn't find a significant effect as we expected. And also, even in the field crops that we have quite big differences, there wasn't found significantly separated, and probably it's a question of number of samples, but you can see that the values are definitely different. And while we check the land use in each area, so we can see that in Geva, sure, the uncultivated land got the higher values. The orchard was less, and was significantly different from the uncultivated. The same is the field crop. And in Ein Harod, in the organic, we didn't find much significant differences between the orchard and the uncultivated, and also not from the field crop. The differences appear just in the third depth. So if we like to compare our the She-Med index to other common index. So one of the most common index is the Cornell Soil Health Index. As I mentioned before, it's developed in humid area. The SMAF, the same, developed in the humid area, and the Australian one. So we can see that there are some parameters that we are found same, and some parameters are totally new. I think we are new with the weed number species in the index, and if we look on degradation of land or land degradation, definitely we know that there are fields that are highly affected with the weed, and usually the number of species is reduced, and we have we usually find weeds that are tough weeds, that are invasive weeds that control or are the dominant in the fields, and definitely it's important agriculture aspect. Chemical aspect, pH, we also found important, related to macro elements. We are similar, pretty similar. Phosphorus, mineral N. We found that the cobalt, not cobalt, sorry, copper. Copper is pretty important. It was a surprise for us, I think for all of us. Bulk density, everybody or most test. Soil texture are existing, it's measured, but it's not in the index. Water, wet aggregate stability is it's in the index. The VSA, we are pretty first that added to the index. Up to now, we able to publish 2 papers, and there are several in the way, several other in the way. I hope in the close future. And as I said, this all soil health, soil quality, soil fertility, soil security issues definitely is a big issue. And as we thought, soil quality is more in national level. It's not came to give a recommendation for farmer how to treat his field. It's more for public or general knowledge or governmental decisions for long term. So right now we sample the validation samples, and we are in the south, in the north, in Orchard. We right now almost done with the analysis, and I hope soon we able to validate this project. Right now, for the last year of this project, we like to complete the validation. We like to expand the expert survey to improve the weighting system. We like to evaluate the index sensitivity to changes in tillage regime, writing the final report, publishing more articles. and write a protocol for to others to use this project. We like all this database to be opened for the public. And we aiming to raise more fund to improve this project, and we hope will be adopted by the decision maker in the future. So thank you very much, and I leave this presentation. Just stop share if you have question. I am here.
The floor is open for questions. Who wants to go first? I see we have a lot of people from outside the Institute today in the audience. Maybe one of you would like to go ahead and ask a question. Eshel, please.
Did you compare the new model or method for health index? Can you summarize what you think the main points that you improved over or made changes for this Mediterranean index than the previous ones?
I think the first improvement it's the weighting system, the weight of each parameter. I think this is. I don't think that. For example, what is more important, pH or organic carbon or total free nematode in the final index. I think it's this kind of thought we need to better imply in those indexes. We found the copper, as I said, surprisingly very sensitive to land use, and I believe also will be sensitive to agricultural practices in the end. We add all this characteristic of the dissolved organic carbon, because it's very general, or dissolved organic carbon, it's very general indicator, and this fluorescence method able to give us a little more information of the quality, and we found it very sensitive to land use, and I believe the same will be on agricultural practices. The salinity, we live in semi-arid region, and salinity, it's a big issue, and also affected by the land use and the soil properties, and definitely it's a very very important aspect of functioning and degradation of land. So definitely, I think for the Cornell, for example, it wasn't there. So, you know, I believe it will have going to be changed in the future, but it's a beginning. We build the framework, and definitely it's a lot of place to improve it. But and again, the sampling season, it's an important issue, definitely in places that we have wet summer and very dry sorry, wet winter and very dry summer.
Thank you. And I didn't say that it's very impressive and important work.
Thank you.
Hi, Gil. Thank you very much for the lecture. It's really a nice, big effort to do so when we always suffer from the European community's rules that are decided in Brussels, which is very different conditions than we do. And I guess also in North America is the same thing. So of course, we need a Mediterranean scale, which is really different. The one question I have is a very crucial issue is the expert survey you did. And the expert survey can give a lot of bias. And for the one example you said, from what I saw, there were probably much more people from soil chemistry and soil physics than from nematode experts in the survey. So how did you manage that? Did you, who are the experts, scientists, farmers, extension service guides? Please, can you say a few words on that?
Yeah, definitely. Right now, we want to build the system and the frame how we do it. And right now, you definitely saw it that we had a very hard time to have soil biologists to give their opinion on the importance, and we see it in the weight. Definitely, we see it in the weight. I asked several soil biologists here in Israel. We didn't unfortunately, we didn't get enough cooperation. They feel that they are not expert enough to do that. We aim to increase, widen this effort and send it to other experts from countries, Mediterranean countries that have same condition to wider this knowledge. We know that all the biological soil biology, it's way behind, but definitely it's, you know, if we find in the future that it's need to be updated, it can be updated. It's not fixed number, it's the frame right now.
What was the percentage of farmers in these experts?
Not yet. We're going to add farmers, but again, not yet. We're going to add farmers, definitely.
Because they will be less biased, I'm sure.
I hope so. And extension as well. This is the aim for this year to expand it to the land users.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any more questions from the audience? Last chance. And if not, then thank you very much, Gail, for this interesting talk.
Thank you.
I'm going to